Hey guys, welcome back. Another day, another auto amateur video. Today I'm really excited because my friend Ben is coming over with his second generation 991. I would say out of our group, this is probably the most powerful Porsche car that we have. I'm not sure how it stacks up with Mario's new AMG GTS. It's got to be pretty close. But the horsepower that this thing puts out is pretty incredible. And it has smoked a few S models in the group. So I'm really excited to get a look at it. Let's go check it out. So hi guys, welcome back. This is my friend Ben, and this is his epic 991 second generation.
Nice to be here.
Thank you, Ben. Thanks for coming. So I think it's fair to say that your car is the envy of a lot of people in our group.
I think so.
I mean, it's fine to admit it. It's fine to basically stand here and say, yeah, everyone loves my car.
It has been definitely the fastest 911 in the group, I think, out of the main members. And I think it was one of the driving factors for our friend Mario to go to his AMG GTS, because his 991.1 that was all souped up was still a fair bit slower than this car.
Yeah. So when he smoked me in his S, he told me it made him feel a little bit better because you absolutely smoked him in this.
Yes, we did a couple rolling races, and this car just kind of walks away from him even after all of his upgrades. The testament to the twin turbo engine that they use in these .2s now. Mm-hmm. It's an amazing engine. Doesn't have that classic flat six sound that some of the purists love, but what it lacks in that classic sound, it makes up for in just sheer power. And what I love is the low end torque. Is really a huge benefit to this car for me and how I drive normally and day to day in the city.
So one of the things I love about this is that it's not a turbo, it's not a GTS, it's the base, and the base can smoke an S model from the first 991 generation and any number of other cars. So tell us what you've done to make it so powerful.
Well, yeah, so when I was looking for a new car, I was very interested in the .2 generation of the 991, specifically for the twin turbo engine. And I was looking at that because it's so easily tuned. With some very basic engine tuning, you can bump the power of this up significantly from stock. Stock, it's sitting at about 370 horsepower and 331 foot-pounds of torque at a very low 1700 RPM. So you get all that torque like pretty much from the bottom end. But with a simple tune, you can bump both those numbers up by at least 100.
Wow.
Really quickly. So you can get into the high 400s for horsepower and torque with relatively little modification. So I bought this car specifically because I wanted to do that tune. And I bought it from a private seller down in Miami who hadn't owned the car for very long, wasn't really a car guy, didn't actually really know what he had.
Wow.
And when I got it delivered, and as it was being pulled off the truck, even when it first started up, I'm like, that can't be stock. Like, it's way louder than I was expecting, because I had heard like Chris's car,
Right.
which is also a .2 base,
Yeah.
even though his is a Targa, but it's the same drivetrain. It was way louder than I was expecting, and even my first couple drives, I'm like, this seems like a completely different beast than what I was expecting. Well, it turns out this car had Soul Performance cat bypass pipes on it, which is
Okay.
why it was so loud.
Yeah.
And I'm about 95% sure that it has already been tuned.
Okay.
So I'm not exactly sure what tune it has on it, but we're going to be doing some dyno runs. That was one of my plans before I take it out on the track this coming spring and summer. Is I wanted to get it dynoed and make sure that I knew exactly what kind of power it was making, that was tuned safely. But in all of our driving, there's just no way that it's putting out stock horsepower.
Yeah.
So it kind of came to me already pre-modified.
Okay.
So all the things I was planning on doing,
It was corridor.
we're already done. And pretty much confirmed, kind of lining up with certainly Mario's car, but also Christopher's 991.2S.
Yeah.
His is a manual, this is a PDK, but even from rolling start from second gear in each one, this car will pull away from that car, and that's an S model.
Right.
.2. So
Right.
I'm pretty confident this has been tuned, and every time I drive it, I'm just like, this is just insanely fast.
Yeah. I mean, so Mario's 991S had been tuned, and it had the performance headers on it, which give you another sort of 20 or 30 horsepower uplift. And it started at 400, being the S model. So with the tune, with the horsepower, he didn't dyno test it, but that must have been pushing out 450, let's say, conservatively.
Yeah.
So if you're skinning him alive, which even Mario said that you did, he was embarrassed at how quickly you took away from him. This has to be putting out at least that.
It has to be putting out at least that. I'm being conservative in the numbers and looking at the different tunes that they can have on this car. I betcha it is probably 475 to 500 with the cat deletes on it, and the torque comes up to that same range as well. So
Great.
an extra 30 to 50 horsepower and an extra 30 to 50 foot-pounds of torque at a much lower RPM makes a huge difference, I think. So
in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to an event sponsored by our friend AJ, who runs Eurocharge Minneapolis here in the Twin Cities, and we've called it Dyno Day. Couldn't think of a better name.
I mean, that's a pretty good name.
Porsche and Pancakes Dyno Day. So there are about 10 of us that are going to go and strap our cars onto the dyno and actually see the readout, and I can't wait to see what this puts out.
I'm very much looking forward to seeing actually what it puts down to the wheels.
Yeah.
And how that compares to other, base cars, because you can go online and find all that information. People have dynoed these things. But it'll be interesting to see the different cars in the group and the different modifications and actually what kind of power those cars are actually putting down to the road.
So this is a beautiful looking spec. You don't see many cars this color.
No.
You've got a nice color sort of contrast with the wheels. It's absolutely beautiful. Tell me about the things that you like about this particular spec or this particular example.
This particular example caught my eye. My previous Porsche was a 981 Cayman.
Oh yeah.
And it was a gorgeous aqua blue metallic.
That's right.
It was a very pretty car. What it was pretty, it was not very fast. It was the base model 981. Obviously, I wanted something more power. And when I was looking, you see so many blacks and grays and silvers, and I'm like, I have to have an interesting, at least an interesting color.
Yeah.
This is Graphite Blue Metallic, and right now it really doesn't do it much justice in the not sunlight when it's not clean. But it's kind of it almost looks like a flat, it looks kind of similar to chalk.
Yeah.
But chalk has no metallic in it. This has metallic flake in it. So in the sun, you get the the gray, but you also get a blue metal flake that kind of comes out, and it has a little bit of a chameleon look as you walk around the car in the sunlight.
That's really nice.
They only made it 2 years, I believe. It was only 2017 and 2018, and then they discontinued it. So it's actually a fairly rare color.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy it. Even though it's not a pretty color, my wife really loved the aqua blue metallic. It's not pretty. It looks different, kind of looks like a battleship, and it definitely stands out from a lineup of Porsches, especially in our group, that are all very...
I hope you don't take any offense. I'm going to disagree. Jenny, if you're watching, this is beautiful. It's pretty. It's gorgeous. Don't put your husband's car color down.
She likes it. She thinks that it's definitely an interesting color, eye-catching, and I do get a lot of compliments. People walk up and they're like, "Oh, what color is this?" They haven't seen a Porsche in this color, and you see some other car makers are making similar type colors, and they always kind of stand out because they're different from your standard car colors you see, and certainly different from the standard 911 colors you see a lot.
Plus, the other thing I really like is how you've got the tinted windows, you've got what looks like the glass sunroof, you've got the black grille, you've got the black lettering, and you've got these, are they black wheels?
Yep. So
it all just goes together perfectly.
It was a really highly spec'd base model, which was another reason I really liked this particular car. You see a lot of base Carreras that are black or white. They have very low options on them. So one of the things I wanted was a high option, at least the performance options on the car. It had to be a color. So this had a lot of the upgraded performance options from the sports exhaust. It has a sport chrono.
Mind if I take a look?
Yeah, go ahead.
Wow.
So it has sport chrono. It has the PASM suspension. So it had the kind of three main performance options, because one of the main things I want to do with this car is get it back out on the track, or get it out on the track. I was lucky enough to be able to drive my Cayman on the track several times last year. I had a ton of fun.
So you drove the Cayman on the track with other Ben.
Other Ben, yeah.
So we've got, I call you Ben 10 because this car's a 10. So you're Ben 10, we've got new Ben with the white S, and then we've got Dorothy because he came to your party dressed as
exactly.
Dorothy.
I think that's a good...
That's how I think we can differentiate.
Yes, we definitely need to keep the Bens straight.
So you drove with Ben Dorothy on the track with your Cayman, and wasn't that what sort of pushed you over the edge to getting a 911, because you wanted to go faster on the track?
I wanted to go faster. That Cayman, you cannot fault its chassis and its mid-engine layout. It is, out on the track when you're pushing that car, it instills confidence, and you know exactly what that car is going to do. And it being the base model, I could drive it really, really hard and not ever be worried that I would put too much power in and throw the car out of control. I could pretty much do anything with that car and still feel safe and in control. And as I gained more experience, I think I put probably about 1,500 miles on that car on the track last year in 3 separate events. So you do about 400 to 500 miles per event.
That's amazing.
So you get more comfortable and more familiar with how the car feels and handles. And the one thing that I was missing was power. That car handled amazing, but coming out of corners and certainly on straightaways, all the other cars are much quicker, and I wanted more speed.
You see, that's what worries me.
Wait.
What does that say?
More power, baby. It's a shout out to Donut Media.
Yeah, very good. So what I'm worried about is because original Ben Dorothy, he's invited me out to the track a couple of times for these, Nordstern events, and I think this year I'll go. I don't know if I'm going to actually go on the track or not. I'm going to go and watch, but I've got this feeling, just like when I sat in the 997 and bought it, and then the 991, I'm going to be on the track, and I'm not going to be the fastest car there, and because I'm pretty competitive, I'm just going to come back and be like, yeah, Ruthie, I'm sorry, I've no longer got any of our retirement funds.
I've spent
I bought this GT2 RS.
Yes. It can be very addictive, and certainly that itch to upgrade to something faster. There's always, there's GT2 RSs and there's GT3 RSs and GT3s out there just tearing around the track, and it's like, you can definitely have fun in just about any car out there.
Yeah.
And as long as you kind of keep those urges in check,
Yeah.
You'll feel safe. You should at least go there, check it out, and even if you don't participate, you can do a parade lap and actually get your car on the track and you're not going track speed, but you'll go highway speed, which is still a lot of fun.
Yeah, impulse control isn't something I'm very good at. You know, you give me a bite of a candy bar, and clearly I eat it all. I did a short contract in the States once, and I was like, no, I'm moving here.
Yeah.
Family.
Impulse control.
So what else? You like the color, you've got the wheels, the exterior, in my opinion, regardless of whether there are nicer colors or not, or, wings or not, it's a perfect example of a beautiful, well-spec'd car. Now, I've noticed on the interior, it looks like you got the higher end steering wheel.
Yes, the
You got
multifunction steering wheel.
Yeah, but you don't have Sports or Sports Plus. What's that about?
I do. So
do
that
you?
has the
dial.
drive select wheel on the steering wheel.
Right.
So that's where it comes almost completely straight off of the 918 Spider, I think is the one that
Right,
had the...
and so this is the difference between the first and the second gen.
Yes.
Is because you get it on the steering wheel.
Yes.
I
Yes.
see.
So it has that little stalk that sticks off right in the kind of lower right-hand corner of the steering wheel.
Right.
And so you can easily, as you're driving it, it's just so natural to reach over and be able to adjust the drive mode there. And I like that over kind of as you're driving, reaching into the center console and clicking a button there.
Because I actually use my left hand.
Oh.
So as I'm driving, I look down and I just do this sneaky instead of my right hand. Because I guess because I'm a bigger guy, but it's easier for me to use my left hand to push the sport button, which is not cool because you need both hands on the wheel if possible. Yeah. Especially tracking.
You can definitely adjust this without even really thinking. And actually, I drive it pretty much 100% in sport mode.
Okay.
So as I'm like backing out of my driveway, like I'm just like mindlessly like it's in sport mode.
Yeah.
Because sport mode opens up the valves on the exhaust,
Yeah.
which was another feature that I had to have in my next car because the Cayman was very quiet.
Yeah.
Unless you were like really really on it, it just didn't make a lot of noise. And this car will definitely make a ton of noise in sport mode with those valves open.
Yeah. Well, before we finish, we'll have to give it a quick rev and listen to what it sounds like. Yeah. My neighbors might not like me very much.
Yeah, my neighbors. So when I'm coming into my driveway or into my neighborhood, my wife is always on me for putting in. She calls it nice neighbor mode. Putting in regular or the standard mode, which closes the valves, and it makes it actually driving around with the valves closed, even with the cat deletes, it drives very quietly.
Yeah.
And smoothly and it really doesn't make much noise. But as soon as you open those valves, it's like a whole nother ball game.
Yeah, it's so nice. So I've got a question that I think only you can answer from our group. I get asked occasionally, and even just yesterday, a guy from Perth called Paul, I think his name is, he is thinking about getting into a Porsche, but he was thinking about the Cayman. But because he's been watching my channel recently and I talk about the 991 a lot, he's now thinking, well, what do I do? So you're a former Cayman owner and you're a 911 convert. If you have any advice to people thinking about either car, maybe there's no wrong decision. Maybe it's about preferences. But could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I owned the Cayman for a couple years and did everything from just regular driving to track driving. So I have a really good feeling for how that car handled. I will say the Cayman is amazing for its chassis and handling, and the mid-engine layout really, in both the base and the S and the GTS forms of the Cayman, just just the ability to be able to drive that car fast and easily, I think is a step above a 911.
Really?
Even though a 911 may ultimately be a faster car on the track, the ability to drive this car in its rear engine layout fast as easily it's probably more difficult.
Okay.
So I would say that's one thing is just you can just hop in a Cayman and not even being a very experienced driver, You can, the communication of the chassis and the steering and its layout. It just wants to be driven fast, and it's easy to drive fast.
Okay.
You will not win any drag races or anything in even, an S model. Mine was a base, and that is really, I think the main thing there is it had very little torque.
Okay.
Low end torque was almost non-existent. So coming away from like a standstill or a stoplight, it just it felt like, and until you got, over 4,000 RPM,
Okay.
it just really never felt like it wanted to take off.
Yeah.
With that being said, it's still a sports car. It still weighs, it weighs a lot less than a 911, and it feels like that when you're driving it. And so it still feels like a fast sports car, even in the base configuration. So I would say if you're not, if your main focus isn't straight line speed, and it's more just a sports car experience and how it handles, the Cayman is a fantastic choice, and why I chose it originally, because
Okay.
the value there is so much higher than in a 911. You have to pay a lot more to get comparable or more performance in the 911.
Right.
I mean, the entry level prices for 911s are tens of thousands of dollars more than
Yeah.
a really nicely spec'd 981 Cayman.
So would you say you got a lot of bang for your buck with a Cayman?
Absolutely. I'm all about bang for the buck. I want value. I mean, it's a lot of money. I want value in that purchase, and that Cayman, it was under $40,000 when I bought it. And that was over 3 years ago, the 2014 model. At the time, I was cross-shopping 997s, and the 991s still were very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And it was even the S model of the Cayman was $10,000 more.
Yeah.
And then to get into any 911 that I thought made sense, it was probably another $10,000 to $20,000 above that. So it's like,
Wow.
from 40 to 60 to 70,
Yeah.
and then I just couldn't justify that price difference. And I drove that car for 30,000 miles, had it out on the track, had a blast. I feel like I really enjoyed that car, and it was worth every penny.
Yeah.
The 911 obviously is the quintessential sports car, so there's a little bit of that, wanting a 911 because it is a 911, but also because, and especially in this configuration, you do get a lot more power
Yeah.
in the same package.
I see your car and I kind of want to start hugging it and kissing it because it's just so nice. As much as I love my 991. Now, are you going to do any tweaks or mods and personalize this further? I kind of feel like it's pretty perfect right now.
It came, I was, again, pleasantly surprised
Yeah.
with the mods that it had on it. And it even had more mods, and it has an integrated radar detector, front and rear.
Oh, it does?
Has a K40 that I didn't know it had when I purchased it.
Is that allowed?
Oh, here it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
There are certain states where it is not allowed.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the laser jammers.
Okay.
It doesn't have the laser jammers.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do plan on doing to this car is track related. So it came with, since it's a base model, it comes with the base brakes.
Oh.
And since I plan on tracking it, I wanted to upgrade the brakes a bit. So there's a kit that I have that is it's a caliper spacer kit that allows me to run larger 997 turbo
Really?
rotors on it. So I think it's at least probably, I think these are 350 and the turbo rotors might be 370.
Okay.
So you can get 10 to 20 millimeters more rotor diameter,
Yeah.
and they're just a lot more
Sorry.
beefy. So from heat dissipation and just sheer rotor diameter, you can get a bit more brake performance. So that I do have those. I've been trying to wear these ones down as much as possible as I've
Yeah.
been driving it.
Yeah.
But before I do my first track event, I'm going to swap over to those 997
Nice.
rotors.
Nice.
But other than that, I don't plan on
pretty
touching
perfect
anything.
the way it
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Not going to slap a bumper sticker or anything like that. It's so good. Well, thanks so much for bringing it out, Ben.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Perfect. Cheers.